jolted awake by furious pounding on my hotel room door at 3:15 in the morning. My heart leapt into my throat as I scrambled upright in the darkness. 3 heavy thuds echoed through the room, then silence. I sat there in the rumpled sheets, pulse racing, straining to listen. Who would be banging on my door at this hour? Swallowing hard, I stumbled toward the door and pressed my eye to the peephole. Outside, the hallway was a distortion of dim yellow light and shadows. I held my breath, watching for any movement. Nothing. The corridor was empty. Had it been a dream? It had felt so real. I even thought I felt the vibrations of each pound rattling the floor. Keeping the security chain latched, I opened the door a crack. Cool air from the hallway drifted in. "Hello," I whispered, my voice shaky. No answer, only the low hum of the hallway lights. I glanced left and right. The corridor stretched off deserted, lit by a few wall sconces that gave a faint flicker now and then. The patterned carpet and old-fashioned wallpaper looked eerie in the half-light. A lingering smell of industrial cleaner and stale smoke hung in the air. No sign of anyone. I quietly shut the door and secured it again. Back in the safety of my room, I exhaled and ran a hand through my hair. Maybe it had been a nightmare after all. I was exhausted from traveling. I'd only checked into this hotel a few hours earlier after a long day of work. The place had plenty of old-world charm, but definitely showed its age. At check-in, nothing seemed amiss, and I was too tired to pay attention to the little quirks like flickering lights or a creaky elevator. I returned to bed, heart rate gradually slowing. Just a prank or a mistake, I murmured to myself. Perhaps some drunk guest got the wrong room. It wouldn't be the first time in a hotel. Yet as I pulled the covers up, unease gnawed at me. Something about those knocks had felt intentional, and whoever it was had vanished without a trace. It took a while, but as the minutes ticked by without further incident, my eyes grew heavy. I was drifting back into a light sleep when the knocks came again, loud and insistent. The thudding boomed through the quiet room, rattling the headboard against the wall. I leapt out of bed with a yelp, adrenaline surging hot in my veins. This was no dream. Someone was out there, deliberately pounding on my door. A spike of anger cut through my fear. I grabbed the first thing I could use as a weapon, the solid ceramic base of the bedside lamp, and crept to the door. My hands trembled as I pressed my eye once more to the peephole. I half expected to meet an eye staring back at me, but again I saw only the empty corridor, washed in weak yellow light. A chill ran through me. Whoever was doing this had to be hiding just out of sight. "Who's there?" I called through the door, trying to sound more confident than I felt. My voice echoed back to me, thin and uncertain. There was no response at all. I stood frozen, heart hammering, gripping the lamp like a club. Then, faintly, I heard a new sound, a soft creak, like a door hinge slowly opening. It came from very nearby, perhaps even the room next door. I held my breath and listened. Another gentle click, as if a door closed again. Summoning courage, I inched the door open just a crack, the chain still latched, and peered into the hall. 2 doors down, room 714's door was slightly ajar. I was in 712. That room was just a few steps away. I was certain it had been shut when I checked moments ago. Now it was open a few inches, darkness beyond it. Was someone hiding in there, watching me? A cold prickle crawled up my spine. The corridor was deadly silent. If this was a prank, it was an extremely cruel and calculated one. I withdrew back inside and quietly shut my door, heart in my throat. This felt wrong. I decided to call the front desk and get the night manager or security up here. With shaky fingers, I dialed the front desk from the room phone, keeping my eyes on the door. It rang several times before a groggy male voice answered.
Front desk, can I help you?
"This is room 712, I said in a hushed rush. "I'm sorry to bother you, but someone keeps knocking on my door really loudly, and I think they just went into room 714. That room's door is open, and I don't think anyone is supposed to be there." There was a brief pause.
714, you said? Hold on.
I heard some clicking on a keyboard.
Sir, no one is booked in 714 tonight. That room should be empty. Are you sure you saw someone?
A cold dread crept over me. The door was open. I heard it and I saw it open, I insisted, voice quavering. He responded with a note of concern.
All right, I'll send our night security to check it out right away. Please keep your door locked.
"Thank you," I whispered, and hung up. I double-checked that I'd latched and bolted my door. My skin was prickling with anxiety. If 714 was truly empty, who could possibly be inside? I pressed my ear to the wall, which I shared with 714, straining to catch any sound from the other side. It was quiet. Minutes stretched out. I paced the small room, every creak of the building making me jump. I kept glancing through the peephole, but saw nothing except the dull hallway. "Come on, hurry up," I thought, gripping the lamp. At last, I heard the soft ding of the elevator down the hall, then the muffled tread of someone walking on the carpet. Through the peephole, I glimpsed our hotel security guard in his navy jacket approaching a room 714. He paused, listening at the door, then gave a soft knock. "Security," I heard him call out. No response. After a moment, he pulled out a key and disappeared inside 714. I waited breathlessly, the silence agonizing. A minute or two later, the guard re-emerged. He looked perplexed as he gently pulled the door closed again. I took that as my cue to open my own door, still on the chain, to talk to him. He walked over when he saw me. "I didn't find anyone," he said quietly, almost apologetically. "Room's empty and locked, sir." I felt a wave of foolishness and confusion. I swear I heard someone, and the door was open, I muttered, feeling my cheeks warm. The guard gave a polite shrug. Could have been the latch wasn't shut tight and it drifted open. Older building, you know. Or maybe you had a nightmare and it seemed real. It happens. He offered a half smile. "I'll be around the rest of the night. Call if you need anything." I nodded, not knowing what else to say. "Thank you. Sorry." When he left, I closed my door again, feeling a mix of embarrassment and lingering fear. Did I imagine the whole thing? It didn't seem possible. I was awake for the second round of knocks, and that door absolutely was open. But without evidence, I began to question myself. I left the lights on and TV murmuring quietly for comfort as I crawled back into bed. It was nearly 4 a.m. Just a couple more hours till daylight, I told myself. I wasn't going to get much sleep, but I could at least rest my eyes. I must have drifted off at some point because I awoke to a new sound. It wasn't knocking this time, but a soft drip. Disoriented, I blinked up at the ceiling. The room was dim. A lamp still glowed in the corner. Dawn light was peeking through the gap in the curtains. I sat up, Scanning for the source of the dripping sound, my eyes moved to the foot of the bed. And that's when I saw her. A woman stood facing the bed just a few feet from my mattress. Her back was turned to me, but I could see that her long, dark hair hung down soaking wet, water dripping from it onto the carpet, the source of that steady drip. She wore a shapeless, pale grey dress that was also sopping wet, clinging to her thin form. I froze, a scream caught in my throat. There was no way someone could have entered my room without waking me. Yet there she was. The room's temperature had plummeted. I could see my breath puffing in the air. A rancid odor of stagnant water and decay hit my nose, and I had to clamp a hand over my mouth to keep from retching. I reached blindly to the side for anything to defend myself with, never taking my eyes off the figure. My fingers brushed the lamp I had yanked off the nightstand earlier. What do you want?" I managed to croak out. My voice sounded small and childlike. At the sound, the woman let out a soft, gurgling sob. She began to turn, not stepping, but pivoting in place as if her feet were glued to the floor. Inch by inch, her profile came into view, and my heart about stopped. Her skin was bloated and discolored, with the texture of old, waterlogged paper. Strings of black hair stuck to her cheeks. When she turned fully toward me, I saw that her eyes were just empty. Sunken, dark hollows seeped with water. I wanted to scream, move, anything but terror had me paralyzed. The woman's bluish lips parted and another choked sob came out, along with a trickle of dark water. She took one slow, shuffling step toward me, her bare foot squelching on the soaked carpet. That broke my paralysis. A strangled scream burst from my throat, and I threw the lamp in her direction with all my might. In the split second that I blinked, she was gone. The lamp smashed against the wall, and in its brief shower of sparks, I saw nothing else in the room. The dripping sound had ceased. Only a spreading puddle of water on the carpet remained. I didn't hesitate. I snatched up my phone and keys and lunged for the door. Yanking it open, I sprinted down the hallway in my pajamas, not caring if I looked insane. I hit the stairwell and flew down flight after flight until I burst into the lobby, panting and wild-eyed. The early morning receptionist stared at me, startled, as I stumbled to the desk, gasping out that I needed to check out now. I must have been a sight, barefoot, disheveled, eyes wide with terror. She quickly processed my checkout, asking if everything was all right. I could only shake my head and mutter something about an emergency, my voice shaking. As I fled through the lobby's front doors into the first light of dawn, I dared one last look back at the hotel. It looked ordinary and quiet, the grand facade belying the nightmare I'd just endured. I ended up driving 2 hours to the next city before exhaustion forced me to stop at a busy roadside diner, somewhere I could be around the living, where lights and people chased away the lingering shadows of that night. Even now, I have no idea who that drowned woman was or why she knocked on my door. Perhaps I don't want to know. All I can say for sure is that I'll never forget the horror I experienced. Even now, I wake up in a cold sweat some nights, convinced I hear a faint drip of water on the carpet and a soft, choking sob echoing in the darkness.